Imagine you're waiting for a phone call, but it's not for a job offer or good news from a friend. It's the call that tells you someone else has just died so that you might get a chance to live. I mean, that's the reality of the organ waiting list, a high-stakes lottery nobody ever wants to play. But today, we're diving into a pretty radical solution that might just end that wait for good. Okay, so let's just start with a number that's, well, it's impossible to ignore. Right now, in the United States alone, more than 100,000 people are on that list. 100,000 people in a sort of digital waiting room, just hoping for a second chance. And this number, this is the human cost every single day. 17 people on that list die because the clock just runs out. A compatible organ can't be found in time. It's a staggering crisis, and it's one that really demands a whole new way of thinking. Which brings us to the wild question at the heart of this whole story. What if the answer isn't about finding more human donors or, some far-off sci-fi 3D printed organ? What if the solution has been waiting for us in a place we'd probably least expect it? So, to really get why this has been such a massive challenge for so long, you have to understand the main villain of the story. Think of your immune system as the world's toughest, most exclusive nightclub bouncer. Its one and only job is to check IDs at the door and violently throw out anyone or anything that isn't on the VIP list. And when that bouncer sees an organ from, say, a pig, it doesn't just show at the door. No, it triggers an immediate, all-out biological riot. The scientific term for this is hyperacute rejection. And for decades, this was the massive, unscalable wall that scientists kept slamming into. And the scary part is how fast this all happens. We are not talking about days or even hours. In those early attempts back in the 90s, surgeons would transplant a pig organ, and within minutes, right there on the operating table, it would turn black and just die. It was a total catastrophic failure every single time. So what is this bouncer freaking out about? Well, it all comes down to a single sugar molecule on the surface of pig cells called alpha-gal. To your body, that sugar molecule is like a giant, flashing neon sign that screams, "I don't belong here." The second your immune system spots it, the alarm bells go off. In trigger, and that's when the massive attack begins. For 30 years, that alpha-gal sugar was the problem nobody could solve. It was a biological dead end. But then came a breakthrough. Something so big, it's not just changing this field, it is literally rewriting the rules of what's possible in medicine. You can think of it like a find and replace tool for the code of life itself. The game changer is CRISPR-Cas9. So how does this miracle tool actually work here? Well, scientists basically use it to perform 3 brilliant genetic hacks. First, they do what's called the sugar delete. They go into the pig's DNA and just remove the gene that creates that alpha-gal sugar, the intruder ID card, gone. Second, they add some human camouflage. They actually insert human genes into the pig's DNA to make the organ look like it belongs, to trick that bouncer. And third, and this is crucial, they do PERV inactivation. They use CRISPR to snip out ancient viruses hiding in the pig's DNA to make sure they can't jump over to humans. All of this brings up a pretty logical question. Why pigs? I mean, why go through all this trouble with pigs when we have primates like monkeys and chimps that are way closer to us on the evolutionary tree? Well, it turns out that closer isn't always better. And it all makes sense when you put them side by side. Primates, many are endangered. They take forever to grow, and the risk of diseases jumping to humans is incredibly high, not to mention the ethical nightmare. But pigs? They're kind of the Goldilocks choice. We already have the farming infrastructure. They grow to adult size in just 6 months, and their organs are shockingly similar to ours in size and function. They are, for this purpose, just right. Okay, so here's the most important part. This is not science fiction anymore. This is not some 10 years from now thing. We are moving from the lab to real life. And the reason this is blowing up right now is because of a huge milestone set for 2025. I mean, this timeline really tells the whole story, right? You go from the complete disasters of the 90s to the discovery of CRISPR in 2012, all leading up to this year, 2025, where the FDA has finally given the green light for the first ever human clinical trials. It's a massive moment. But, and this is a really important but, we need to be clear about who these first trials are for. They're being done under a rule called compassionate use. What that means is, this is a last resort. It's for patients who are facing a terminal illness and have absolutely no other medical options left.
These people are true pioneers, stepping into completely uncharted territory, hoping to save their own lives, yes, but also to pave the way for millions of others.
Of course, a breakthrough this big, one that really pushes the boundaries of what we consider natural, doesn't happen without some very big, very complicated questions. It forces us to have a real debate about the ethics of it all. And this, right here, is the central question coming from animal rights advocates. Look, we already raise pigs for food, for leather, even for heart valves. But for many people, there is a clear ethical line being crossed when we start to create an animal for the sole purpose of harvesting its organs. And then you've got the whole societal ick factor, as some people call it. The philosophical questions about our own identity. I mean, if a vital part of your body was grown on a farm, does that change who you are? Does it make you less human? We've put titanium joints and plastic valves in people for years, but for some reason, this just feels different.
So let's do a quick recap of the really crucial takeaways here. We have a massive organ shortage crisis with over 100,000 people waiting. CRISPR is the secret sauce, the technology that lets scientists get past our immune system. Pigs are the Goldilocks candidate for this whole process. 2025 is the year this all becomes real, with human trials. And finally, this whole thing forces us to ask some really profound questions about our future.
Which really leaves us with this final thought to chew on. Are we watching the next amazing step in medical progress? A brilliant feat of bioengineering that's going to save millions of lives? Or are we crossing a line into something a little more like Frankenscience? The trials are only just beginning, and honestly, only time is going to tell.